What does the Can-Am Spyder, airplanes, and this goofy looking BMW all have in common? I'll tell you after the intro. Cue the intro. This is a 2003 BMW F650 CS. It's actually a pretty rare bike. They only made it between 2001 and 2005. And what this, airplanes, and Can-Ams all have in common is the Rotax built engine. This is a Rotax built engine, 650 single cylinder motor. And it's actually one of the smoothest single cylinder bikes I've ever ridden in. I put about 300 miles on this thing in the past weekend. I loved every second of it. All right, guys, before we dive into too much of this stuff, let's do the words of wisdom, Colossians 3:12. So, as those who have been chosen of God, holy and beloved, put on a heart of compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Now, the one thing that kind of took a little getting used to was how much low end, at idle torque there actually wasn't. You have to give it a little more. You would think it's a thumper, it's a big giant engine, it would have all the torque right there at the bottom. Well, you kind of don't. I mean, once you're at here at 2, 3, 4,000 RPMs, it's great, but right at idle, so you have to kind of give it a little more gas when you're letting out the clutch than what you would normally expect, more so than a dirt bike. But it makes sense. It's a single cylinder engine, and that can do 115 miles an hour. That's crazy. The clutch is nice and light. The shifting is very smooth, pretty much what you would expect from a nice Rotax motor. If you're wondering, Rotax is an Austrian company, not Australian, like shrimp on the bobby. Austrian, I don't even know what that is. I don't know anything about it. I just know they make a darn good motor. If you jumped on this bike and someone was like, yeah, it's a 753 cylinder or some other configuration more than a single cylinder, you'd probably believe it. I didn't know. And I've had XR 650s, and I've driven other much more dirt bike single cylinders, or didn't know they made them like this. Now I know currently they do. You know what I mean? The Honda 300s and stuff like that are single cylinders, and they're super, they're pretty smooth. But back in the day, from 01 to 05, love it. Another unique thing about this bike is they actually put the oil inside the frame. The frame is actually used to keep the oil, and it circulates the oil, and that's why you'll feel the frame on a cold day, and the frame's actually warm from the oil kind of running through it. This bike pushes out 50 horsepower, about 46 foot-pounds of torque, has a top speed of 112. And I was on a closed course this weekend, and I assure you, it will do every bit of that 112 miles per hour. Now we'll just get up to the appropriate highway speeds. I don't know why these people are doing 45 miles an hour, but that's ridiculous. That's not even safe. As you can see, the bike gets the highway speeds very quickly and feels great once you're there. We are top gear. If I gotta pass somebody, I just roll onto the throttle. Cruising highway speeds at 65. I'm at 4,000 RPMs. The engine's barely working. I barely hear the bike. I hear the wind is much louder than the motorcycle is, which I like. I don't need a loud bike. And you get that a little bit of, the windshield's not doing much. Let's just say that. The windshield's not doing much. I like to feel the wind hit my chest. I like that. That's what I ride motorcycles. If I didn't want that, I would ride my car or the Atom or something like that. The braking power was great. This thing has steel braided brake lines. I'm not sure if that came that way factory. I would assume it may have. But the braking just felt good because it's a light bike. So one of the most surprising things about this bike is you look back here and you would assume it's a BMW. You probably see a chain or a shaft, but you see a belt. So the 650 engine puts the power down to the wheel through a 5-speed wet clutch transmission, and then to the tires with a belt drive. Now, even though it's only a 5-speed, honestly, I wasn't counting the gears when I was on my trip. I didn't notice it was only a 5-speed. It didn't make any difference. I was cruising at the highway speeds the entire time, having no issues. You see what I mean? I kind of took it up to like 2.5 RPMs just to leave out. It's just what it feels comfortable with. The reason they went with a belt drive is because it's cheaper and lighter than a shaft, but it's also less maintenance than a chain, and easier for entry-level riders to jump in and start, riding. What BMW was trying to do with this motorcycle was they were estimating that they wanted to grab 40% of non-motorcycle riders, such as people that ride scooters and stuff like that, and get them into motorcycling with this with this urban commuting motorcycle. So when you first see this bike, you notice the very unique, very futuristic styling for BMW. So when you first see this bike, you notice it's very unique, very futuristic styling. But the biggest thing that really jumps out at you is this giant void where the tank's supposed to be. So if this is not where the tank is, where's the tank? The tank's actually underneath the seat. The filler cap is right here underneath your passenger. But what's the point of this giant void? Well, they use this for a lot of different things, but one, BMW made special bags that fit in here to keep your luggage. Now you can stuff whatever bag you want to, but how do you keep it secure? BMW figured that out too. It's got this little thing. It actually locks in with the key. So if you can stuff your bag in there, jam this thing on here. Now, this weekend I had it actually about as big as you possibly can with the bag all hanging over the side. You can rest assured that your stuff is secure. Now BMW also, this is really crazy, BMW also made a radio, a CD player with speakers that would sit right in here, speakers right here, CD player inside of it, that people could buy as a feature for their bike for when they're cruising around their town and they want to let everyone know that they like listening to Britney Spears, or in my case, Taylor Swift. The problem with it though is that because motorcycles have such small alternators or small charging systems, that riders found out that if they wanted to play their radio, by the time they got to their destination, their battery would be drained and they couldn't ride it anymore. It's a unique set of features that you don't normally see. It's got things that you're like, it's gonna be the other bike could be a scooter. We have huge space and it's great for commuting and easy to drive in the city for for urban commuting. But then also it has features where you could roll on the highway, or you could roll on the highway and just cruise at higher speeds, and it feels perfect. It feels super comfortable. Now this is a Corbin seat. It's very stiff and hard, but it's fitted. It's a very good fit. Even though it is hard, there's no cushion to it. My body can kind of slide in and off it like it, as it wants, which is a good thing for a bike if you're really kind of hit the corners. I spent like probably about 6 hours on this bike in one day, and I felt good. I didn't get off. It wasn't beating me up when I was riding. So BMW claims that this thing can do 0 to 60 in 5.47 seconds. I'm gonna do better than that. Was it 5.47? I know I could beat that 5.47. I know it, just know it. All right, let's do this. There. So if you're wondering who this bike was really made for, who now should be buying a bike like this, someone who wants something unique, they want something that no one else has. I've bought and sold over 1,000 motorcycles. I've seen tons of bikes. I never even heard of this bike until I bought it. It's a very unique bike. It runs great. I actually kind of fell in love with it on my last trip. It's got a lot of really cool, unique features. I think this is awesome. I think the whole bike is just the quirkiest looking thing, but I loved riding it. Now the seating position is very naked bike, where my feet are below my butt, my knees are in front of everything, but most of my weight is on my butt, and I really don't have to put any weight or anything on my arms. I can just use my arms to control what I got going on. If I want to go a little faster and I want to tuck in low, bam, I got all the room right here, unless my bag's right there, and then I get to rest my chest on the bag, which is super awesome also. The bike throws it down. It throws it into the corners very easily. And with this single cylinder, other than the moment you start, it's got tons of torque pretty much anywhere else. But the bike with its narrow wheelbase is very flickable and very controllable. So much so that you feel comfortable taking it off-road because it's a light bike. You know where the power is going to be, exactly when it's going to be there. It doesn't have to rev up. If you want to cut the back end out, you just flip the throttle a little bit. It's going to cut the back end out. You just know exactly what it's going to do. You calibrate yourself to the bike very easily. People who have ridden for a long time like me can hop on this thing and have a blast. People who are just getting into it can hop on this bike and just have a blast. It's not heavy, it's fun. You can take the bike pretty much anywhere. It's good in the city. I did 150 miles on the highway with this thing, cruising at the speed limit. And I think it's great. It's got a huge range of people who would enjoy riding this bike for a lot of different reasons. Guys, if you're interested in this bike is for sale. Check out Srkcycles.com. We ship bikes all over the country. I spent a lot of time on it. I've really enjoyed it. Remember, it is not what you're riding, but where you're going. We'll see you guys later.